All right, so it is time to make our NFL Week 16 predictions. Now, last week I went 11-5, a very, very good week. And I think this week, with the games that we do have, a lot of these games are very, very important for a lot of teams when it comes to playoff standings, when it comes to their seeding in the conference. So a lot of these games are very, very important. So let's start off on Thursday Night Football between the 49ers and the Titans. Now, this game I'm going with the 49ers. You have George Kittle, who's been great. Deebo Samuel, a star. Jimmy G, as much hate as he gets, I do not understand it. He's been playing fairly well. He plays on this Kyle Shanahan offensive scheme very, very well. The 49ers can run the ball with literally anybody at running back. That's the great thing about this offense. Anybody can run the ball and run the ball very, very well. They completely obliterated the Falcons. Looked really good doing it. Their defense has definitely been an underrated part of the 49ers team. That defense is very, very good. And this team is going to be dangerous to play when it comes to the playoff. Like, their defensive line's great. Nick Bosa is having an underrated season. I don't think it's talked about enough. The Titans, I think they're bad. I really do. I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt for the longest time. Oh, they're injured. But when you have 4 turnovers, and like I said, I know they're injured, but 4 turnovers, it's inexcusable. No matter who you're playing, no matter what the situation is, you have 4 turnovers, you're going to lose the game. You're going to lose the game. Even the Steelers, who were only kicking field goals, 4 turnovers led to the Steelers able to stay in that game and end up winning it. It was bad. I don't like Ryan Tannehill. He's bad. I without weapons, Ryan Tannehill, without Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill is not a good quarterback at all. I don't think the Titans are a very good football team. I mean, they're on the cusp of losing their division lead. I completely believe that's going to happen. And you have the 49ers, who literally have a chance in their division, which is something that I was thinking about today. Their division, I think they have a very good shot of doing it. The Cardinals haven't been playing very well. The 49ers still have one more game against the Rams. So if they beat the Rams, I think this division in the NFC West is a very tough division. It is very top heavy with the Rams, Cardinals, and 49ers. Those 3 teams are going to be battling it out all year. But when it pertains to Thursday Night Football, I think the 49ers are going to stomp the Titans. And maybe not stomp is the right word, but I don't think this game, I think this is the 49ers game to win and just continue playing very good football. Next, we have the Browns and Packers on Christmas. I'm going with the Packers to win this game. I don't think it's very close. I mean, the Packers, they look good against the Ravens, albeit it took a failed 2-point conversion to really end the game. But Rodgers, 3 touchdowns, playing like an MVP. Their defense is great. And they still might be without Kenny Clark, but they have wrapped up their division. They have won the NFC North. So division-wise, the Packers really don't have much to worry about the rest of the season. You have the Browns, lost to the Raiders. Nick Mullins is literally Baker Mayfield. I swear all 3 quarterbacks that are on the Browns, Nick Mullins, Baker Mayfield, and Case Keenum, literally just feel like they're mere images of each other. I think they're all the same. Chubb struggled most of that game, kind of got hot in the second half, but they fell short against the Raiders. I think the Packers, like I said, are going to win this game. I think they're obviously a much better team. We don't know the status of Baker Mayfield. I assume like all the stars of the Browns are going to play this game. It's hard to imagine them not playing, but just the Browns, I don't think they're a good football team. I mean, they have been injury riddled. They have been COVID riddled. Like, they've had a lot of issues that they've had to deal with. But I think the Packers are the best team in the NFL, and it's a Christmas Day game. The spotlight's shining right on them. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to go out there and just have a very good game on Christmas. Next, we have the Colts and the Cardinals. I'm picking the Colts to win this. I don't trust the Cardinals, and I think they're absolute frauds. The Colts, they look great against the Patriots, albeit Carson Wentz only having to throw 12 times, only completing 5 of them. I mean, it kind of felt like the Colts beat the Patriots at their own game in a way last week. I mean, albeit Carson Wentz, he's going to have to step up in these games. Like, I think this game is definitely one where Carson Wentz is going to have to step up. But when Jonathan Taylor is running for 170 yards against the Patriots defense, who I think is one of, if not the best defense in the NFL, that's something that's very impressive. I mean, they have a great defense. That defense of the Colts is definitely going to be one that's going to be tough in the playoffs, and I think that defense and Jonathan Taylor and that offensive line is definitely enough for the Colts to win a playoff game. You look at the Cardinals, they lost to the Lions. They looked awful in that. They were out-physical, outplayed, out everything in that game. Kyler Murray looked absolutely terrible. AJ Green even gave up on one of his routes, costing the Cardinals a possession. It was a really bad interception. They only scored 12 points against the Lions, albeit the Lions came out and just the Lions completely. If you didn't look at the records of those 2 teams, the Lions completely. You would think that the Lions are a very good football team. Their running game was great. Their quarterback played great. But if you look at this game, I'm picking the Colts. I don't trust the Cardinals. They're kind of doing what they did last year. They are missing their best receiver. Kyler Murray is kind of injured right now. So I don't trust like I said, I don't trust the Cardinals. I don't think they're not division winning worthy. And even if they do, I think they're going to get bounced in the first round or their first playoff game. I don't think the Cardinals are very good. So I'm picking the Colts. Next, we have the Lions and Falcons. I'm picking the Lions. The Lions, like I just mentioned, they beat the Cardinals. Jared Goff looking amazing. Craig Reynolds ran wild. They're literally the worst team in NFL history, and I don't even think it's close. This team literally only exists to ruin other team seasons, and I love it. I'm all in for it. I love the fact that this Lions team plays balls to the wall every single week. Even in games they look bad. I know they had a whole bunch of injuries and COVID crap and illnesses against the Broncos, whatever. They've had 3 or so games this year where they just looked like a really bad team, but every other game they've been competitive in. But I love this Lions team, and I love the fact that I feel like they're literally here to ruin seasons, and I'm all in for it. Like, they are a team that does not care about tanking. They do not. When you have a guy like Dan Campbell, when everybody buys in, plays well for him, you kind of have to love that. That's great. The Falcons, I don't know what to make of the Falcons. I like Matt Ryan. I think he's good. The offensive line is absolute garbage for the Falcons. Their defense it's hot trash. I don't think it's very good. They got blown out. They were just a bad football team. There's nothing really good to say about the Falcons because the NFC is so stupid. The NFL is so stupid this year. Somehow they're still in the contention for a playoff spot. If they somehow do it, I don't know what to make of the NFL season. But I am picking the Lions to win this game. I think they fight hard, get their 3rd win of the season, and there's just something about the Lions that I love the way they fight, and then watch them get blown out this week by the Falcons. Next, we have the Rams and the Vikings. Obviously, I think it's great to pick the Rams in this game. However, this game is very, very important for both of these teams, if you ask me. If we start with the Rams offensive line was absolute garbage against the Seahawks. Matthew Stafford, the Seahawks were getting pressure on him the entire game. Now, the offensive wise, you have Cooper Kupp, who's having an elite level wide receiver season. Could make an argument for him winning an MVP, offensive player of the year. Like, there's so many awards that you could give to Cooper Kupp. Might even have the best receiving season in NFL history, and I'm all in for it. Like, Cooper Kupp is just a smart dude. It really seems like a nice guy. He's very good at football. But their offense as a whole, still thought they could have done a little bit more than what they did against the Seahawks, because the Seahawks are a really bad football team. But they beat the Cardinals. They beat the Seahawks. 2 divisional matchups. Always looks good on your resume. They're making a push for the NFC West just like the 49ers are. It's going to be a tough road ahead. I don't think that division's even close to being over with. I think these next 3 weeks are going to be huge. If you look at the Vikings, they beat the Bears. I didn't think they looked really good at all. Kirk Cousins only threw for 87 yards. But because it's Kirk Cousins, because he's so inconsistent, he might even throw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game. That's the most frustrating part about Kirk Cousins. But it is what it is. But I'm going to go with the Rams, like I said, to win this game. I think their defense, Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, all those guys finally hitting. They're getting healthy. They're getting their guys back. And I don't like the Vikings. The Vikings are so up and down this year. The Vikings are having the weirdest season in the NFL this year, it feels like. And I don't trust them, even though Kirk Cousins, it's a 1 o'clock game. Nobody's going to be watching. And he might even have a very good game. And no one's going to know about it because it's in a 1 o'clock slot. Next, we have the Jags and the Jets. There's really not much to say about either one of these teams. The Jaguars are terrible. Trevor Lawrence was bad. 4 interceptions against the Texans. Like, there's nothing nice or good to say about the Jaguars at all. I mean, they got rid of Urban Meyer, which is a good thing. If you look at Zach Wilson for the Jets, I mean, I think he's made some progress. He looked okay against the Dolphins. I think Robert Saleh has COVID, so he's probably not going to be there for the game. But, I mean, I'm picking the Jets to win this game. Like, what is this? This game's garbage. Nobody cares about it. Next, we have the Giants and the Eagles. The Giants, they lost to the Cowboys. Look terrible. Mike Glennon sucks. Jake Fromm sucks. Nothing good is coming from the Giants. They're just a really bad football team. And Mike Glennon has somehow made, I think, $31 million in his career. And he's not good at all. The Eagles, Jalen Hurts, and that Eagles team had a fantastic game against Washington. He's been up and down. The Eagles as a team have been up and down, but I still think they're a very, very good team. He had 296 passing yards. He ran the ball fairly well. The Eagles' rushing game as a whole was great. Miles Sanders, 131 yards. Ever since they finally started using Miles Sanders, they are a team that no one wants to mess with when it comes to their run game. You have Dallas Goedert. He had that unfortunate turnover which you can't really expect. It was weird. It bounced off his heel. Like, you can't blame him for that one. But he had 135 yards receiving. I think he's very underrated. He never gets talked about. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I don't talk about it, but I think as of late, he's had some very good games. And I'm picking the Eagles to win. The Giants are terrible, and the Eagles are still in line for a playoff spot, so they're fighting very, very hard. Next, we have the Bills and the Patriots. Now, this game is going to be very important for both of them. If you look at the Bills, they beat the Panthers last week. They finally looked fairly solid. They ran the ball quite a bit with Devin Singletary. They ran it well. I think he ran about 22 times. They still don't look quite like they did last year. They still have a little bit to work on. I felt like they got off to a kind of a slow start against the Panthers, but once they got rolling, they were rolling. But they're desperate. They got ran all over the last time they played the Patriots. The Patriots only threw the ball 3 times, and if you look at the Patriots, they were bad against the Colts. They're hungry. Mac Jones didn't look good until late in the second half. They had no run game, and they got ran all over themselves. So this game is they're in desperation mode for both of these teams. This game decides the division here. If the Bills can somehow win this game, which I think the Bills will win, I'm picking the Bills to win this game. The Bills are desperate. The Patriots are desperate. These teams are going to get their absolute best shots. These defenses are going to step up. These offenses are going to step up. It could come down to a special teams mistakes that decides this game. But these two teams, they're hungry. They're feisty. Each of these teams need this win. The Bills haven't looked great at times during the season. The Patriots had a great winning streak, and then they looked fairly bad against the Colts last week. This game, and you look at how the game went last time, I think the Bills have a chip on their shoulder. They want to win this game, and I think they're going to give everything they have. This is as close to a playoff game as you can get in the regular season. I'm all in for it. I love it. I'm excited for this game. I think the Bills, I like Josh Allen. I like some of the things they do. I love their head coach. Obviously, I like Bill Belichick. I think this game is as close to a playoff game as you can get in the regular season, and it's gonna be insane. They may be hitting harder than they normally would. They're gonna be running routes harder than they ever would. They're gonna be running the ball downhill harder than they ever would. This game is just gonna be insane, and I think the Bills, even with Cole Beasley out, I'm still picking the Bills because they're the most desperate team by far of the two. Next, we have the Ravens-Bengals. This game was really weird for me to pick. I picked the Bengals to win, but if you look at the Ravens, they barely lost to the Packers. Tyler Huntley looked good. They failed on the 2-point conversion. Tyler Huntley gave them an energy that they didn't seem to have all year. Like right now, they're not even in a playoff spot. And Lamar's status is pretty well unknown for this game. And I think even if he does play, they're going to lose. The Bengals, they beat the Broncos. Their defense was good. The Bengals they're winning games, but they haven't looked fairly good recently. Their offense, Jamar Chase hasn't been that ball of energy, that spark, that lightning quick scorer that the Bengals have had. But they have too much talent to only put up 15 points against the Broncos. Now, the Broncos do have a solid defense, but I am going with the Bengals to win this game. I think the Ravens season, it's in jeopardy right now. I think they lose this game. They're out of the playoffs. The Bengals, they're a young team. They're hungry. They want to get to the playoffs. And I think, they want to win their division. They still have a chance to win their division. And so I have to go with the Bengals to win this game. Next, Chargers and Texans. I mean, what's there to say? The Chargers are going to win this game. They barely lost to the Chiefs in overtime. Brandon Staley, you could say his aggressiveness cost him the game, but I'm still a fan of it. At times where I like going it on 4th down, but there's also times that I didn't. Late in the first half, at the end of the first half, they probably should have taken the 3 there. But they were 2 of 5 on 4th down. Aggressive will work, but sometimes you just got to take the points. Herbert is easily the second best quarterback in the AFC right now. I think right behind Mahomes. Mahomes is 1. He's number 2. Herbert's having a really, really good season. They're making steps in the right direction from last year to this year. So I think late this year, definitely next year, they're going to be a very dangerous team. The Texans, I mean, they beat the Jags. Davis Mills looked pretty good. I mean, he's had a good year for whatever it's worth he's on the Texans. But they're still a really bad football team, and I have the Chargers winning. Next, we have the Buccaneers and the Panthers. I'm picking the Bucs to win, even though the Bucs look absolutely terrible against the Saints. They look bad, but now they have a whole bunch of injuries. Leonard Fournette, Chris Godwin are probably out for the year. You have Mike Evans, Levante David. They were so desperate that they signed Le'Veon Bell, and now you have AB and Le'Veon Bell on the same team, which I don't know how well that's going to work out because those are two big personalities in the locker room, but they do have Tom Brady, who will probably keep them in check. But these injuries are just, they came at a really bad time for the Buccaneers. They really need all their other guys to step up. Good thing they're playing the Panthers this week. The Panthers, they're bad. They're using both Cam and Sam Darnold. I don't trust a team in the NFL that's using a 2-quarterback system. That's never good for the NFL. Like I said, they're in dysfunction. Cam is not very good. He's not an NFL quarterback. The Panthers are, I think, a quarterback away from being a very good football team, but using both Sam Darnold and Cam Newton is not the answer, if you ask me. So I'm picking the Buccaneers because they need this victory, even with all the injuries. They've got to win this game. Next, you had the Bears and the Seahawks. I'm picking the Bears. The Bears were a joke against the Vikings on offense. Justin Fields was all right in that game. Definitely in the second half looked better. Their defense is very good. The Seahawks, there's really not much about that team. They're bad. They stink. And just for the fun of it, I'm picking the Bears just because I think they have a much better defense. And Russell Wilson, the Seahawks offense, has not looked good at all this year. So I think it is definitely going to be, it's not definitely, but I am picking the Bears to win this game. Next, we have the Broncos and the Raiders. I'm picking the Raiders to win this game. The Broncos are starting Drew Lock on as their quarterback. I think their offense stinks. Javonte Williams is really the only bright spot, if you ask me, on their team. They started 3-0. Now they're 7-7. They lost to the Bengals last week. They didn't look very good. They lost Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, if you look at the Raiders, they won on the last-second field goal. I think they're also a bad football team. I kind of feel bad for Derek Carr because that organization kind of stinks. There's nothing good around him other than Renfro, but overall, I think the Raiders are, I guess, a better team than the Broncos, even though both of these teams are pretty bad. So I got to go with the Raiders. Next, we have the Steelers and the Chiefs. This is the Melvin Ingram revenge game because the Steelers decided they had nothing for him, and then he went to KC and just started playing at a very high level. But I am picking the Chiefs to win this. Now, they are going through a whole bunch of COVID issues, as you know. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, a whole bunch of other guys are definitely going to stink with them being out. It's really going to stink. But, I mean, if you look at last week, if they are able to play, you look at Tyreek Hill last week, Travis Kelce last week, Mahomes last week, all three of those guys played great. The defense stepped up, and they made the key stops on fourth down. They are going to get Willie Gay and L'Jarius Sneed back. Buckner, the kicker, will be out, which kind of sneaks. But the defense is it's going to be a defensive kind of game for the Chiefs. If you look at the Steelers, their offense is completely unwatchable. Their defense did force 4 turnovers against the Titans, but still, I don't think the Steelers are a very good football team, and I think the Chiefs' defense is definitely going to be enough to defeat the Steelers, and so I got the Chiefs winning this. Next, we have Washington and the Cowboys. Washington lost to the Eagles. Their defense was terrible, 238 yards rushing they gave up. The Cowboys, they beat the Giants. Their defense was very good. They forced 4 turnovers. The offense still isn't living up to their full potential. Dak still hasn't looked right from his injury. I'm hoping they start looking good, because they have too much talent on that team to not be putting up a lot of points. Only 21 points is not very much against a Giants team that's very, very bad. But I'm picking the Cowboys. I think Washington stinks. Their quarterback situation, their COVID issues, all the Washington's like the definition of an average team. And I think the Cowboys are much, much better than Washington. So I'm picking them. And on the final game on Monday Night Football, we have the Dolphins and the Saints. The Dolphins have the second best win streak in the NFL. They've won 6 games in a row. They played okay against the Jets. You know, Tua did have a few bad interceptions, which kind of stinks because I'm definitely on the Tua train, but he's having a very solid season. They have won 6 in a row. They're now sitting at 7-7. But I'm picking the Saints to win this just because they shut out the Bucs. Their defense is a lockdown defense. They're forcing turnovers. The Bucs couldn't really move the ball on them at all. I think their defense might be too much for the Dolphins' offense. Now, anything can happen. I may be wrong, but I mean, even with the Saints starting Taysom Hill, like offensively, I think the Dolphins have a better offense, but the defense of the Saints, I think, is a little bit much for the Dolphins to be able to handle with the young quarterback in Tua, so I have the Saints winning this game. Those are my picks for NFL Week 16. Give me your picks down below, and I will see you in the next one.